touching lives others run from. To be truly engaged in ministry work as Jesus was involves reaching out and touching lives that most others would run from. Ministry work can often be messy work. Often you'll have to step out of your comfort zone and be around folks that are very different from what you may consider as the norm. You may have to talk to, interact with, and maybe even touch and help individuals that make you a bit uncomfortable. But Jesus did that very often. Having pastored an inner city church for over 5 years, I learned quickly that if I intended to be his hand extended, I would be touching people who most would consider less than desirable. My life would be consumed with hearing from, seeing, and interacting with people others simply wanted nothing to do with. I would be praying with, eating with, preaching to people who simply didn't have the finesse society required. And I would discover very quickly that when one of my people ventured into one of the local churches looking for fellowship or a handout, I was going to receive a call quickly from the local pastor to come pick them up as their church supported our ministry to keep these people away from their congregations and their children. Street people, alcoholics, drug addicts, homeless individuals, somehow all of these had become my responsibility and not that of other local churches, because they felt that they were paying me to take care of these. Certainly a strange pattern of belief, but nonetheless held on to by many. Interestingly, Jesus never pushed a needy person away. Fact is, he often stopped, even went out of his way to impact the lives of others for the kingdom of God. Some time back, while attending a local church, a homeless man arrived on scene one Sunday morning. Interestingly, no one in the church wanted around him. He just sat there in the hallway. Even the local pastor wanted him gone. He was simply viewed as a disruption to the norm. I sent my wife over to McDonald's to grab breakfast for him while I sat and talked to him. We were instructed by the pastor to please move him on down to the homeless shelter as soon as possible, as he would only be a disruption to the service that would soon be starting. In my heart, I cried out for this man, but to the locals, he was simply a disturbance. You know, the Bible tells us in Matthew 8, verses 1 and 2 says, large crowds followed Jesus as he came down the mountainside. And suddenly a man with leprosy approached him and knelt before him. Lord, the man said, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean. Now, I want you to keep in mind that lepers were considered unclean to the Jews and were to be stayed clear of. And, you know, I suppose you could call the modern homeless people the lepers of today, because churches will give money to the homeless shelters to keep them away rather than recognizing them as a ministry opportunity. But Jesus didn't turn and walk away or call for the shelter to come get the man. He stopped everything he was doing, and the Bible tells us Jesus reached out and he touched him. He said, I'm willing, be healed. Jesus met this man at the very heart of his need. He reached out and he touched the man and he prayed directly for that man's need. While others would have taken off running as this leper approached them, Jesus stopped and he ministered healing to the man. You know, that man would never forget what Jesus had done. He would live the rest of his life remembering that one person who was willing to go out of their way, to step out of the norm to meet his need. The church, whether it accepts it or not, has a responsibility and an obligation to stop everything else and to impact individual lives. And it's not always clean work or the kind of job we necessarily like to do, but it's all a part of being Jesus to those who are around us. If the building's too fancy, the chairs are too nice, the people are too snooty to stop everything and impact lives for Jesus, then that church has forgotten what its true mission and purpose is. When your church becomes a shrine of beauty rather than a hospital for the sick, you are no longer fulfilling the work of Jesus. You've simply become another country club. Help us, Lord, to be to others what you have called us to be. Help us to reach out to people for Jesus, regardless of how they look or how they dress or how they smell or even what they believe. Help us, Lord, to get back to the very basics of Christianity. To be to our world what Jesus was to his. Help us, Lord. Help us.